Okay. What was your first memory as a child?
I think my first memory as a child was actually playing outside. My mother was a school teacher, and so during the summer months, she would be home. She didn't teach summer school, and so we would have to actually do a little work in the mornings, and then around about 11 o'clock, or it was either after we ate lunch. Yeah, it was around after 11 o'clock or noon. She would kick us out of the house because she said she needed to get some peace because she had been dealing with kids all year. And so we used to go outside in the hot heat and we would play all day. And we would make believe that we were outside cooking. We would take the grass, act like we were making some turnip greens. We would take the mud and make mud pies like we were cooking pies. And we would actually let them sit out in the sun and they were hardened because that's how hot it was.
Wow.
And we used to take like you know how they use the pie pans
Mhm.
and stuff. We they would give us the neighbors and uh, different adults would give us like their old pie pans and old different stuff, and
Mhm.
that's what we would use to um, actually make believe like we were cooking outside. And so then we also I remember we couldn't we would knock on the door and she would be like, what you guys want or what have you. And we
Mhm.
were like, well, we want some water. And she was like, go drink out of the hose and on the side of the house.
Mhm.
And so then we also would go play in like we didn't have parks
Mhm.
in the area, but we had like people had big yards.
Mhm.
So sometimes we would go play softball or what have you, or
Mhm.
we play football with the boys. But we
Mhm.
always all played together. We would come up with something to be creative because 9 times out of 10, the other parents would make the kids go outside, and you
Mhm.
have to stay out all day.
In this
And
hot heat.
yes, in the hot heat, it wasn't no coming back and forth in because it was like you come back and forth in, you're gonna let the flies in.
Mhm.
That kind, or you're gonna let the air, my air out, or it would be something, and we would be made to stay out all day, and we would pretty much stay out until the lights would come
what is
on the
a
street.
what does that mean or signify when the lights come on?
You need to be in the house or
If not.
heading in the house, and if we didn't, we used to try it. We used to stretch it. Okay, so now we've been kicked out, been outside all day,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
now we all the kids are playing together and
Mhm.
having a good old time. So we try to when the lights come
Mhm.
on, the street lights come on, the kids used to be like, some kids didn't have that rule, but
Mhm.
me and my sister, we did. They was like, your mama get ready to call you. You better go home. You better go home. We like, no, we good, we good. And then she'd be out the back door, and we could hear her hollering all the way up the street. Tammy, Christy, the street lights is on. Get in the house. We used to be so embarrassed.
When you were playing out with other kids, was there a lot of kids in your neighborhood?
Yeah, there were a lot of kids.
So you guys basically grew up all together,
Yes.
went to the same schools and
Yeah,
everything.
we went to the same school. We all grew up.
Kind of like me and some people I know. We all went to elementary school and we all graduated high school the same year as well.
Right.
But what was it like living in Tennessee or growing up in Tennessee? Do you guys have a lot of confrontation with kids outside sometimes? What was it like in the
No.
was it early 70s,
The 80s.
the 80s?
No, we didn't have any confrontation with the kids. Everybody got along.
That's nice.
We were like real creative. We didn't have video games and
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
cell phones and those type distractions like you guys. We didn't have social media,
Mhm.
of course. So we had to be more creative
More creative
and
with it and
go
everything.
outside and play and think of things,
Yeah, you
you
guys
know.
didn't really start going out to places until you were like in high school, basically.
Yeah, 'cause that's when we started driving and had our license.
Mhm.
So then we would kind of venture out a little bit more on our own. But for the most part, where we grew up, we played a lot of sports. So that's kind of what kept us out of trouble.
Mhm.
We play by playing sports.
But what was it like growing up in the South in Tennessee, Nashville, specifically? Because I know a lot
Um,
of, I mean, a lot of buildings that you guys or a lot of businesses that you guys had used to have back in the day doesn't really exist now. But I know you guys pretty much
um,
had fun.
I would say it was. I wouldn't say it was segregated because by then, you know, segregation
It was
was
kind of was
over. It
over.
was kind of over, but I would say that it was still segregated from the simple fact that the schools were kind of still kind of segregated. Because if you stayed on this certain side of town, all the kids went to school at that particular place.
Mhm.
But it wasn't like, you know, in the 60s and
Mhm.
like that.
It's kind of, I wouldn't say it's kind of like strange, but it's kind of eye opening to know that like it was kind of a little bit segregated. Well, not like black versus white, but like the schools and the type of
A
neighborhoods.
lot of places, even today, did you know, like in certain cities,
They're still like that.
like I want to say, like New York,
Mhm.
it's still kind of segregated as well.
Mhm.
Like if you go